Homelessness is a growing issue in Koreatown. City leaders had a plan, so why did people react like this? In May of 2018, the LA City Council proposed building an emergency temporary shelter on a parking lot in the heart of Koreatown. It was called Bridge Housing, and it was meant to help the area's homeless people transition into more permanent living situations. Many in the Korean American community were not happy.
There was a lot of emotions, involved because the riots in 1992. During the riot, the police force neglected Koreatown completely. Koreatown was kept and protected by people, within K-Town. We kept this town with our lives. Now we feel like we are invaded by these outside forces without being consulted at all.
There was no details about the plan at all. Let's build it here. That's all they had.
Angry community members took to the streets in protest, but not everyone agreed with the anti-shelter sentiment.
I was really angry. I don't see how anyone can oppose a homeless shelter when there's so many people in need.
Jane organized a counter-protest. At first, only 8 people showed up.
There was a large media presence, and they also came to us. It just shows the importance of showing up because you'll get to present a counter-narrative.
Ultimately, though, the anti-shelter protesters won. City officials decided to move the shelter to Lafayette Park, about a quarter-mile away from the original site. Technically, not in Koreatown, but some Korean Americans worried the public drama had damaged their community's reputation.
The media, people who live in other areas were saying Korean people are anti-homeless. They were starting to be labeled as NIMBYs. Some of us got together and said, hey, we should do something about this PR disaster.
James and his friends started handing out supplies as a publicity stunt.
At the time, we didn't even know what people needed. We went, and the conditions that people were living in, it was really bad. There was a lady who was sleeping in her own feces. When you see something like that, it really definitely affects you. I think that was when I kind of decided personally, we need to do something about this.
Since the fight in Koreatown to move the shelter, controversies over homeless housing have flared up in Venice, Sherman Oaks, and the Fashion District.
No side is a good side. Most of communities are opposing to the idea of having a shelter in their neighborhood community.
The activists in Koreatown say those fighting homeless housing in other neighborhoods have reached out for help on defeating those projects.
They are not necessarily going exactly the same route, but I just explained little details. I was always trying to encourage them to really talk.
But the conversation in Koreatown is changing. People are coming together to help their homeless neighbors.
You can see a difference in the composition of the neighborhood council. It wasn't as pro-shelter, but now it's largely pro-shelter. There's definitely been a shift in K-Town, and I think we can credit James for spearheading that effort.
Most of the people who were opposed to temporary shelter were older generation. CAFLA members have traditionally been older. Now that I'm on the board of CAFLA, we have some credibility, I guess. Like, oh, hey, that guy's a board member of CAFLA, and he thinks that we should advocate for homeless people. Maybe he's doing the right thing.
I think we had to go through all of that. This debate, it elevated homelessness throughout the city of Los Angeles. You have people who a year ago didn't pay any attention to it, out there leading, trying to help, like the Korean Federation.
A year since this all began, things are starting to shift. Weston's office says that the shelter in Lafayette Park will open this fall and more housing is being planned in his district.
It ended up being, a win. I think the only way that homelessness can be solved is if ordinary citizens and residents like me take action. As long as there is a need for affordable housing, we're going to be fighting for a K-Town that's inclusive of everyone, a K-Town for all.